Hi, this is Bertram Cruz here, and I'd like to welcome you to the OTR launch. I am part of the internal launch group here at OT301 that will help shepherd this project to its full potential. For the past 20 years, OT301 has served as a communal platform for a wide array of groups and organizations. Now, during social distancing, we want to extend our platform through online radio in the want to increase and build togetherness. With OTR, we want to present a diverse and honest representation of Amsterdam's contemporary culture. The first month will consist of video streams on Fridays from 3 p.m. until 8 p.m. every Friday in September. We've got a nice first program today. It starts with talks by OT301 as well as OCCII. Numerous performances by Subculture, Bass Culture, Galactic Funk, where I'll play some records myself, and close off with Power vs. Power Records with Am and Zoo. We hope you enjoy the show.
Thank you, Bertram. And welcome everyone for our special day today, launching OTR radio station. We've been waiting for a very long time for this day, and here we are. My name is Monica, 24 years in Amsterdam, 20 years in OT301, and I have this great opportunity to be your host for the first program. Let me invite you my first guest, Irina, which will representing OT301. Welcome. Let's sit.
Thanks, Monica.
So, I would like to, first of all, express my gratitude for you to find the time.
Yeah, thanks.
Because you are
thanks
very
for offering.
busy and lots of things are happening for you. And so maybe shortly, would you like to introduce yourself to our listeners? And what I am mostly looking for is I'm interested in the moment when you first arrived to OT301 and what you felt and why you decided to be part of this collective.
Yeah, it's gonna sound like a love story, really. I remember coming, so I was in Amsterdam almost by accident, visiting a friend I had told I would come and say hello from London, where I was living at the time. And I called her and she said, well, I can't host you. And then I was like, oh, great, I'll just walk in a bar. And then I met someone and he said, you can stay with me. So then I stayed a week. And in the meantime, I was looking for alternative places where I could somehow get the grip on the city. And then I mailed a number of places that I heard of, amongst which was 301. And very quickly I got an answer from Ava Gallery, who was at the time running the visual art space in the building, saying you could come and do a residency starting from Monday. And I remember the Sunday evening, I was excited, but I also didn't know what to expect because it was not really in my plans. You know, I didn't come exactly for this. I'm not goal-oriented ever, so this kind of just happened. So on the Sunday evening, I came to the crossing between the Jan Pieter Heijenstraat and the Overtoom, and under the traffic light, I just looked to 301, and then immediately it felt like my stomach just turned around, and it was the moment I fell in love. I didn't even know what it meant. I saw the gate and I was like, home. Oh.
How many years was that?
It was, it's January 2013 then. Yeah.
2013.
And then, so the morning after, I came and I started a residency with Ava at the time. So that meant that I was there for 2 weeks as the dancer, choreographer, I called myself then when I wrote the mail. And I spent these 2 weeks at first full-time in the house, and I had a note on the door saying, come in, I'm in. So I was just there and I was working on my own things, but with the idea that the door was open at all times. And for me, that was not just an invitation to anybody to walk in, but it was also like, I wanted to get to know who was in the building, because, you know, you're not like you walk in and you get introduced shaking hands with everybody. Well, certainly not today, but we didn't get that. It was just like, here's your space, here's the keys. And then little by little, like people from the house would walk by and just maybe like have a peek, and I'd be like, hey, you want to have lunch with me? And then we would sit down and have a conversation, 20 minutes, and then little by little, like drop after droplet, I started to get to know people in the house. And then I think I had a little presentation there at the end of the 2 weeks, to which I think a number of members came, but I was still, kind of just testing grounds and not really knowing what my place was. I went away back to London. I needed to make some cash. And then a little bit later, I then sent another mail to ask if it were possible to do it again. And then, so I then came a month or so, 2 months later, for an entire month. It was the whole month of April. And of course, like, my love started to grow. And I was like, uh-oh, I think I'm in trouble because I can't leave. And and that summer I had different jobs as a performer, so I was traveling around Europe. And then it came, I don't know through which channel, but I learned that one of the ateliers was going to open up. So I was like, okay, why not, you know? The naive little me thought, I'll just write an application, see what happens. Maybe I do get an atelier. I didn't get it. I remember that interview with all the members. I was like, ooh, well, shit. And then somebody whispered after the interview, like, hey, you know, maybe the AVA group is going to leave the project at the end of the year.
I mean the gallery space?
The gallery space, yes. So the space will become available. There will be a call out, and then I was invited to maybe write a proposal for it. And you can imagine, I was like, "What do you mean? I'm a dancer. What am I going to run a gallery?" Then I think I thought about it overnight. You know, half in the disappointment of like, "Oh, Amsterdam is not going to happen," and half in the wild projection of like, "But what if?" So I went off to Sweden, I think, and I called a partner in crime at the time, a colleague and a good friend, and I said like, hey, you know, there's this thing, and I know it doesn't sound quite organic as a thing to do, but what if I write a proposal? Would you jump in? And at the time, this was Masako, who was living in Italy. And then she said, yeah, sure, let me call a couple other friends who are more like in visual arts. And she did. And then, we proposed to take the gallery with a project of 6 months. And we got it. And the guys, they dropped everything they were doing. They just left their lives behind, hopped on a car, put all the gears they had, and joined me here in Amsterdam. And we started the current 4-bit gallery.
That was the beginning of the 4-bit gallery. So this is already 7 years past. You spread your wings all over the city and internationally.
Yes.
So how was the spirit of time in OT301 growing step by step to come who you really now as a project?
Yeah, I think there was never a book according to which we would move on. You know, sometimes you think, oh, we're going to start something and this is our plan. Okay, we have a budget, we have a timeline, we have roles. And we just started from, basically just bumping up against whatever was coming next and finding our ways and solutions that were not prescribed. So we started with 4 people. And then about a year later, 2 people left, and then we opened up to internships or like collaborations with people from outside. So we had mostly younger arts interested or students in the anthropology, sociology, psychology that would just come and want to have an experience that was, of course, a voluntary experience. It wasn't jobs ever because we all work for free. We work because we need to do this. We don't work because it's a job. So little by little, I think what we enlarged was also a sense of, maybe we can talk about community in that sense. It was a sense of community that wasn't given by parameters of it wasn't targeted. We weren't saying like, if you're an artist, you're welcome. We would say, if you're an interested person, generally an interested person is quite broad as its definition, you're welcome. And in that way, yeah, of course, it spreads a bit like a spider web. That then somebody who knows somebody who's heard of us comes and says like, hey, I know this person is not an artist, but he talks about this. And then through that, all of a sudden you have all these little hooks that starts intertwining with each other. And I think, it's not immediate, but within maybe the course of 2.5 to 3 years, what we started to notice is that there is almost like a serendipity that is held and carried by the space. That it's almost like we don't really have to do anything, but we just keep on kicking the ball from different directions, and then it bounces off all these different walls. So it's a lot of receiving, actually. Maybe we did put in, but it feels very much like it has a momentum of its own, that it's about maybe the quality of interaction rather than the quantity of consumption. Yeah.
So basically, we answered this second question, which I had heard for you.
Yeah.
What means community to you in relation of OT301? You start to already go to this direction, so maybe you tell us more how this relation with community and OT301 is meaningful to you and to the people you're collaborating with.
Yeah, actually interesting to enter it from this angle. I didn't quite expect to take it from there, but it now extemporary just shows up and reveals to me live revelation that there is something maybe about making space to diversity. Community is perhaps a way to claim for that in-betweenness, that which is not boxed in, or that is not in a claustrophobic way, maybe just shoved into a corner. But then if you have community, you also have possibility for discussion, you have possibility for confrontation. And we know a lot about this also in the house. I think it's often that we don't go hand in hand and happily ever after agree on everything, but it gives that ground and opportunity for revisiting. Maybe I want to make a pun or like a joke about community and common sense, revisiting common sense. But maybe we share a lot, maybe we even live together, maybe there's a lot of day-to-day that we need to deal with, but it doesn't mean that we actually act upon it in the same way. So it could be that it's just a personal view, but what Forbid and 301 perhaps has shown me is that as much as you can break off all the givens or everything that you think this is how it is, and as much as the community allows you to grow also as an individual within it. So there is maybe an aspect of friction there, or like opposition, but it is not in the mood of battle, but it's more like maybe a street dog fight, that you just like nibble on each other and then roll.
Learning about ourselves and each other.
Yeah. And then it wasn't long ago when we were doing this OTV301 experiments that with Mirko, one of the members, like we were talking about, how do we, if it's not here, that we give room for being different or like not really according to our expectation to one another, then where? If it's not here, if it's not through the subculture, if it's not in the alternative spaces, like if it's not here that there is room for that, then where?
So it's also a platform where the opportunities could be created and given.
Yes, yeah, definitely. And this is also very much the spirit with which we've always run the gallery project, the Forbid. That maybe it's for those who don't find a spot that we give them a chance. And we don't know if it's going to succeed, but if you don't try, you don't know. I'm very much someone, maybe being a dancer and a mover, I always come from the doing. I don't come from the thinking, the conceptualizing, then hoping that it translates. Like, we do it. Maybe we smash our face against the wall, but, otherwise you wouldn't have known it.
Exactly. So how do you feel a sort of feeling of community to other alternative venues in Amsterdam? or internationally?
Yeah. So you sent me this question before, so I had to think up for myself a bit and stir this idea of what is this sense of community or sense of belonging came up with me. Yes. What is the sense of belonging? Because I from the traffic light, I looked at the gate and I felt home, and I was like, what on earth is this feeling? Yes. You know, like I hadn't even walked in. I don't know what's behind that gate. It's just like, boom, yes. Here, right? So if that hits you that hard, and I started to wonder, okay, what is this belonging? What is that something that maybe allows me as a person to be without judgment, to be, to not have to justify my existence according to whatever standards that I won't meet, you know. So if I feel a kinship or like a friendship with spaces or communities, because sometimes there's a community space, there's no space for it. You know, we've seen it with evictions, like the community is but isn't, and yet it exists. It's when I travel, and then I think we all experience this, that you know you resonate with something or someone at a certain level, and you don't have to explain to them. Like maybe it's the shoes you're wearing, you just know, like, we're gonna click.
Maybe it's the haircut.
Maybe it's the haircut. You know, you have certain filters for sure that helps and doesn't sometimes. But certainly there is this. It gives a sense of, at least to me, it gives a sense of safety. Like I don't have to show. I just have to show up. And maybe that's also a little bit what is happening, and it could be a downside to it. What is happening with Amsterdam, that maybe we don't really visit each other's spaces as much. We're going to talk about OCCII later. Like maybe we're not physically as present, and maybe we give a lot of things for granted by not showing up physically. But somehow it's almost like from the backbone, you know, that we are part of one family. I mean, it sounds cheesy, but there is a sense of belonging to a bigger picture.
And how do you feel about underground culture?
Yeah, I think big question in these times, yes. Especially. And I don't know if it is yet the time of being critical, because to a certain extent, like we're in the middle of a lot. So
especially the city is going through lots of changes, and
yes,
sometimes big topic to understand how we see this angle in 5 years' time.
Exactly.
Example,
yeah. So I hesitate a bit. I have an urge, of course, to take a position. It's like I feel strongly, viscerally certain things, but I also have a bit of sense of hesitation, which I hope is just healthy. But it's a time for subculture which is challenging, but it's a time for us to also remember that we came from down and we're gonna always build ourselves up from nothing. I mean, I know, like, personally I wasn't brought up with so much, so, but also with nothing, but not in the sense like I want this, I'll have it, but my mom was like, oh, you want that? Well, how about you make it to yourself? So I was, you know, sewing myself a little pencil case and then, I don't know, write on it the brand of whatever my schoolmate had, because you know that was a thing. And I think with subculture is a bit similar, that if you know where to resource to, even though maybe we've been challenged, then you kind of always dig back in that box and you're like, okay, I've reinvented myself before, I'll reinvent myself again. And then ourselves as 301, you know, we've talked about this a lot when we first were locked down. And we're like, okay, we're going to have to reinvent ourselves. This radio is another way to reinvent ourselves. How do we then manifest our essence through... It's like this is maybe like the thinker. I'm also doing a master's now, so I'm a bit like brain screwed. But how do we manifest the essence through different mediums? That it doesn't have to be that we always did it this way, is the only way to do it. But maybe there is the same core that can... multifacet itself and be looked at from different angles and still get to the same core.
I like what you say before, I don't have to show, I just have to show up. And this is very nice. And actually, looking through your daily activities, recently starting your new band, so I am very much inspired by watching you and see, and also all the other members of the OT301, how through these difficult times actually people trying out things, taking time to research different things, trying to find different roads to arrive. So it's difficult times, but also brings lots of things at the service which we didn't have a chance to touch it before, maybe because it was easy.
Easy, yeah.
So maybe this brings me to the next question is how the situation of COVID-19 influenced you personally, lockdown, how did you experience it, and also how was it for the OT301?
Yeah, I remember it was maybe the second week of lockdown, and I decided to stay in the gallery, and I can well self-isolate there. So we would just meet in the corridor, like we would meet, or different members. We would just bump into each other in the corridor on 1.5 meters distance. It was so funny. Actually, no, this is just a parenthesis, but the 1.5 meters distance and the being in the same building, it's kind of, I would hear sounds from the first floor, and just to see a human, I would just go up to the first floor just to be having a conversation at 1.50 meter distance. No, but then just reminds me of the time that we maybe were having coffee in the office, and at one point, I think it was with Pierre that we were saying, hey, we have so much space. We need to use it. We need to abuse of this. It's a luxury today to have space. People are closed in shoeboxes, and we have, call it a castle, like we have walls and floors and
palace of potential.
The palace of potential. So I think like that planted a big seed that started to move around the earth, and then quite quickly, right?
Again, we are returning to the opportunities we can get.
Yeah. We weren't okay. We were hitting a hard rock with knowing that we were not going to be able to get any donations through the door. But we're like, hey, but we can experiment now, and we have each other because we have all the resources in-house. This was like the most brain-breaking, that there is a number of people with a number of skills who are all here and can complement each other.
And especially also because the strong part for us was that OT301 is the place where people live and work together in the same location. So such a situation as a lockdown was a kind of beneficial to the story you are mentioning right now.
Yes, and
because if we not live here, we all been locked down in our own places, and this place will be super lonely.
Yeah.
And it was for time looking like a spooky house.
It's true. Yeah. No, it was very motivating, I think, for one another also to know that even though we might have lost or suspended our jobs, we could still keep on trying things out with one another. Maybe we got into collaborations that we wouldn't have otherwise. And then on another hand, this just like a different scene in Forbid, because our crew is also numerous. Let's say we have between 5 and 10, kind of in a spiral of commitment. But then we decided to still keep working on something, and we decided at first we're not going to do the trendy Zoom thing. We're going to do telephone. So we started to telephone to each other, and then from this started a whole new production, which I'm going to make advertisement for it today, because Forbid is going on Amsterdam Fringe next week. So it's like 3 months of production that we did, first starting to talk on the phone, and then little by little, when the measures gotten looser, then we could actually see each other. But yeah, we managed to, from pretty much just conversation, to bring up a whole choreography, which next week is at Dansmakers, and people can go see it, from nothing to something.
Go see it, yes.
Go see it, 11th and 12th of September, Dansmakers, book a ticket. No, so Forbid has been a massively supportive community within the community of 301, just as much.
Yes. So the last question we have for you is like how to embrace the moment of now in the time of the social distancing and uncertain future, how do you see the new idea of bringing the radio, community radio, and what do you think how a cell like this could transform to the communication platform where we could build more the synonym as a togetherness, and how this togetherness could be benefit to the OT301, for example?
Yeah, I was thinking, in the times of pandemic, well, pandemic, non-pandemic, like perhaps the COVID has tickled us in that spot, and then you came up with the radio as a solution to this itch. But whether there is or there isn't, I think what we really need now is discourse, like opportunities like this where we can have conversations and conversations that are available to others. Because something like a radio, you can just plug yourself in, you can listen, and inevitably a conversation is going to trigger some side thoughts for you. So I think maybe this is what was a bit lacking, because in 301 we organize lots of events, but then there is a small percentage of it that triggers a follow-up and like actually critical thinking, like actively critical thinking. So I think a program like this is something that will support that, which is quite fundamental today. That it's something that we've been inhibited to do because in our society, at least I'm talking about Western society, we're just pushed to take quick decisions, like, don't like, So it's either like you buy the ticket, you don't buy the ticket, you're present, you're absent. But how about you stay, you listen, maybe you question even for yourself, and you know that you're not alone, because a radio show is not just going from you or from the show to your house, but it's broadcasted. So maybe there's some seeds that we can plant that we can't quite control what they're going to produce.
Exactly.
Let's hope, eh?
So my list of questions it's already
nice.
Finished. I would really like to thank you for your time once again and a lovely conversation.
Proposing this. Thanks a lot.
So one more time reminder,
Friday and Saturday.
Friday and Saturday, if you like to see Irina and Forbit in Dance Makers, find out, tune in. So we will take a moment for a little song, little track, little image, and we invite Sandra from OCCII. So welcome again in the studio for the second part of our program. For those who tune in just late, my name is Monica, together with my guest Sandra, representing OCCII.
Hallo kijkers.
So thank you very much for finding time to come to open our program.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yes, we are very curious about hearing how OCCII is doing in this period of time. But I would like to start maybe shortly introducing. I would like you introduce yourself shortly and tell me when was the first time you discovered about OCCII and what led you to be their precious volunteers as you are.
Yes. Well, my name is Sandra. I am living in Amsterdam for around 15 years now. I came from a small place, so there was no underground or any live music going on there. So I was living in Uilenstede back then, and I discovered the OCCII. I did not know how to pronounce it back then. I thought it was like OCCII, so it was kind of awkward when I was talking about it with people. So in the first months that I was in Amsterdam, I went to see performances at OCCII. I was not an active volunteer at the place. I don't think I even knew it was volunteer run back then. But in the years that I've been in Amsterdam, I've been active as a volunteer in other collectives. And since January, I started working at the OCCII. So I'm now one of the 2 employees. Yes.
So how OCCII contributes from your presence there? What are your responsibilities?
Well, I'm doing, the official title is business coordinator.
I didn't know OCCII as a do-it-yourself culture will have such a
that's only the title.
Yes.
I'm doing volunteer coordination, so I'm in a lot of in contact with the volunteers, doing the administration, making sure everything gets paid on time. And then all the other loose ends that need to be done at a place like the OCCII. Yes.
So this is like you are weekly going there, you will for a few hours regular base, or you work as a freelancer way?
No, I'm going there like normally I would go there 3 days a week, but now it's a little bit different because we work from home when we can.
Yes.
But we do now meet each other every Monday to catch up and talk about what we're gonna do, how the weekend was, and stuff like that. So now from September on, we're trying to catch up and be like in a more normal rhythm again after the whole, since March actually.
Yes. So I follow the social media. I see you do much more. You are much more busy than actually OT301. But I think maybe from reflection, I could say maybe because in OCCII people are not living there. But how often you have events there now?
We since June, when it was allowed again to have events in cultural spaces, we started mid-June with like a tryout show to see how it would be, because we didn't have any image of what it would look like, having a few chairs
exactly.
with live music and having no social aspect to the whole concert experience. So we had a show middle of June to try that out, and ever since we've been open every week, mostly Saturdays, just to do something, just to be open to the people, to the audience, to experience some live music.
So it's always every chairs are booked. It's full.
I think all the events we had were sold out. We do mostly 2 sessions, sometimes 3 sessions, with 20 or 25 chairs, it's sold out now.
Different times than before. Yes. So I would like to go through my questions to you. So what does community means to you in relation to OCCII?
Well, I think the OCCII came from a community. So it's like the essence of the OCCII. It's a volunteer-run place, but there's 2 people that are employed now, so that the daily stuff gets done, and it's some continuation in that aspect. But the rest is all volunteers. So we are a community in that sense, and we are part of the community in Amsterdam of the underground music musicians. We are part of an international DIY community, European, but also wider than that. So it's basically the core of why we are able to do what we do.
Yes. And I think it's important also to mention Erica with the Kidnapper,
Yes.
how important also role as a connecting of the new generations.
Exactly.
And
Next
older
to
generation.
the programs we have in the evening for the music, we also have every Wednesday and also sometimes Tuesday kinderpret for younger people.
And also we saw it, that the younger people become part of the community after they
Yes.
the moment they
And then-
enter adult life, isn't
Yes,
it?
and then they go to the live shows.
Yes. That's really nice.
Yes.
So, do you feel sort of family or of community to other alternative public spaces between OCCII and other places?
As a person, yes, of course, and also as the place, the OCCII, we have connections or short like communication lines with other places in Amsterdam. Sometimes it's about if we cannot host a program, maybe another venue can host a program, or the other way around. So there's very open communication lines between all the places. But in the last few months, people have been kind of closed, more closed in my feeling, because people have to reevaluate their whole
Exactly, the life.
yeah, exactly, everything. So it's harder to be in touch with how everyone is doing. For example, I haven't been here since March, so I'm really happy to hear what's going on here.
Yes, also I think with respect to interview with Irina, when come out clear that many times we are so occupied with organizing our own public spaces that we don't have energy or time even to go to concert somewhere else or
Yes.
to see people, because it's just like 24/7 time where you are busy
It
with
takes a lot of time,
programming,
yes.
organizing and everything. So it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's true also, I also wrote to OCCII to also my request, how you doing guys,
Yes.
how many chairs, which measurements you use. So I was very glad also to be open, to have this opportunity to exchange how the spaces are dealing with the social distancing and
Yeah, I think
events
we
and
can
stuff,
learn a
yeah.
lot from each other.
Yeah.
And I think now is really also the time to be more open and to, I'm really curious about how venues are dealing now.
Yes.
Yeah.
I also feel like this few times we've been open in OT301 for like a mainly like a dance performance or like a small electronic concert, and for me was very clearly like every time during the time being open we were learning how to be open, and the goal was simple. We want to make sure that all our guests, included our crew which works, feels safe here, and was important even that maybe visitors could give us the tip as well if we could do something better, because it's really just learning how to do.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting how to. I saw even in OCCII this one picture where you put this plastic like to separate the audience from one to
Yes,
another.
there was one. You mean the concert?
Yeah, well, I
Yes,
saw in the picture. I
yes,
didn't
yes.
see it.
I
I find it
wasn't-
that
I
was
was
also
not,
creative idea.
I was not there, but I've heard what they did.
Mhm.
It was a band, and they put plastic around the sides of the venue.
Mhm.
In the middle, there was like a path that the singer could walk, and
Okay.
also in between chairs. So there was like a path that she could walk in between the plastic. So in that way, she could like scream into the faces of the audience that were seated at like a hard rock punk show.
Mhm.
So it's like one way to work around the measurements that we
Yeah.
take, and we take them very seriously.
Yes.
So yeah, and it's nice that our audience also appreciates that and respects all the measures that we take, and don't try to bend them.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Because I think that's the moment of like what we speak before, this togetherness. This togetherness we need to take also to the level as deep as our visitors, together with us, are part of this experiment. How we could make this place safe.
Safe, yeah,
Yeah.
safe is the key word now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so how do you spend your lockdown?
Well, for me, very, very, very personally, in the beginning of March, I had a surgery. So I was recovering from that while the lockdown came in place. So for me, it was sort of a great timing. Sounds very weird, in the sense that I didn't have to go outside. I didn't have to work. I didn't have to go to events. I didn't have to pick up crate beers, for example. So
basically,
for
the
me,
word
it was
I
time.
don't have to. It was very important. I don't have
I
to.
just
There was
needed-
nothing you have to do in this time.
I needed time to heal, and
Yeah.
I got an extended period to heal. Of course, that was only nice for 2 weeks. After that, I was in the same situation that the rest of us was. Yeah, it was quite an intense period, having to readjust to a new life. Yeah.
So during this period of time, also for Oki, do you know that members was coming in, or everybody was separated?
When the lockdown came in
Yes.
place, I think the week after public events were cancelled, they met up once to discuss what should we do now. And from then on, everybody worked from home, and we had a few Zoom meetings.
Yeah, Zoom meeting.
All the uncomfortable Zoom meetings.
Astronaut lives.
Yes. So it was nice that at least this was an option to communicate with like a bigger group. And we also tried to do Zoom meetings with volunteers, but that was more hard because, it's hard to have a Zoom meeting with many faces. Yeah.
We also experienced those at OT301. From my personal experience, I find it actually interesting because there was lots of listening and not easy to go into misunderstanding, and so I find it quite positive, the Zoom meetings, which was weird in the beginning, but later I thought, there is really time, everybody have moment to express what they think, everybody listen, passing the ball. I found it was safe space to be.
That's also true, and it was nice that that it was an option now. Was it like did it happen a few years ago? Probably it
When
was
we
not
don't
an
have the
option.
technology, exactly.
So it was really good to have.
But the spaces being empty without audience, it was very sad to experience. Yes.
The places I went there after, I think maybe in May. I was there by myself, and it felt really, really eerie, and there was no energy, there was no people. It was really strange to be inside a place that lives or feeds off of energy and noises, loud noises, people. Yeah, it was a really strange experience.
Yes, especially that even the space is not used, it still needs care and love.
Yeah.
So for sure, as much as OCCII as we also went to the space from time to time just to wash the floor and maintain, because
Yes.
it was
Yeah.
very, the space needs this care, yeah. But then directly, it's almost you felt that the space was crying and from loneliness and asking, where is everyone? What's going on? It
Yes.
was very interesting moment.
True.
And also the corridors, very scary. Like you could almost make a horror movie on there.
You have a much bigger space also. For us, it's
Yes.
tinier.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so this. Okay, so now how are we moving forward towards next question? But I think we already, during our conversation, we're covering all the questions one by one. So basically, my next question was, how during this social distancing, and also this moment where we have to be restricted with our programming and everything, how do you see maybe the opportunity to start an online radio station which could possibly host everyone from the city week by week? Do you think this could be interesting communication platform which brings more togetherness between the underground scene? Or
I am hopeful that it could be a solution. I'm really happy to talk with you now, to see Irina, to hear your side of the story of what's been happening now, and I'm really curious how it will evolve and what it will bring to light or change or
Yes. So I think from my side, I'm fine with our interviews, and I don't know if you have some question or.
No, well, like Irina said, also check out our website.
Yes,
there are still tickets left for I think the show next Saturday, not tomorrow, but the week after.
So basically, now it's we enter September. So what's the program for September in OCCII?
I don't know from the top of my head.
Okay.
And also we transferred a lot of program from March, April, May until this period. But of course now we have to cancel that also. So there's also space for people if they want to do something, organize something, to get in touch with OCCII.
Yes, and you can find this information when you tune into the OCCII Facebook page.
website.
Is written there where OCCII needs you.
Yes, we have an open call for everyone. Yes.
So if I understood well, you mostly open Saturdays and Sundays in OCCII.
But we are flexible.
And you are flexible, yeah. And then people need to make reservation and follow the protocols.
Yes,
as
yes.
And Kinderpret, it's already starting on Wednesdays.
Again, yes. And the rules for children are more loose.
Free,
so you can also register for events for if you have children between 3 and 8, 10,
yes,
10 years old. Yes.
And there is a great graffiti workshop for the children 8+, so don't miss this.
April, yay!
Good. Okay, Sandra, thank you so much for your time and your energy, and thank you, Irina, as well. I just wish that all of our spaces in Amsterdam and across the world will find something positive out of this situation, and I truly believe in that, because underground always find a way out. So there is no way we will not find a way out. We will stay alive, stay creative, stay positive, and show up, not show. I like this from Irina. Thank you.